Perfect.
That's easy. All right. Woo!
Yeah, here we go. Art Teachers and Hats, episode 4.
Art Teachers and Hats, Art Teachers and Sharks, episode number 4.
Wow, that is some hat.
Yeah, I dug
Tell
this
me a
one
little
up.
bit about that one.
What do you mean?
What are you talking about? Perfectly
This
normal.
old thing? It's what I wear to the store on the weekends.
Great movie.
My
It's a
previous
Wonderful Life.
career was teaching in elementary school, and I hate dressing up for Halloween, as you are very well known of
I
that.
do know this.
But being in an elementary school, it's very hard to avoid Halloween. So I have a bunch of lame costumes, and this is one. And I have a bunch of like costume T-shirts and things, like a Chewbacca T-shirt and the Ghostbusters T-shirt. But this is the one I got one year. I wore like board shorts and like a tank top or something. I had this on my head.
I'm just wearing another run-of-the-mill Steelers hat. This was a Christmas gift from my kids and my wife. Goes with my aesthetic. I'm like Lego Batman. I only do black and really, really, really dark gray with a little bit of yellow. So it works. It fits my
like
aesthetic.
Lego Batman.
So today we're going to talk about digital art, right?
Yeah, let's do digital art. So I don't know, made fun of is not the right word. Jabbed, poked fun at you getting an iPad was a year ago. Oh, the kids got you an Apple Pencil.
Yep. I got my iPad when my students gifted me an Apple Pencil at the end of the school year last year. So it's been almost a year since I've had the pencil. I didn't purchase the iPad though until much later. It was at the end of summer where I finally said, you know what, I got to get an iPad because I have the pencil. What am I going to do?
The Apple Pencil is no good unless you have an iPad to go with it. Okay, so then I jabbed at you getting digital art because I was always like, digital art's dumb. I don't get it, even though I teach a digital art course. But I broke down last week and bought one. So now I have my iPad here too.
Now, I would assume you were egged on a little bit to get that iPad. I think you and I had a few conversations via text. Should I do it? Should I do it? You had a shopping cart that was waiting for your final click. Are you glad you made the final click?
So I hemmed and hawed because it's expensive.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. This is the pro version, the big one. Like it's all this craziness.
Yeah.
And it has the fancy Apple Pencil that it magnetically sticks to it, which is really cool. So yeah,
I like the lighting too.
Oh, the orange glow.
It gives your face a great little glow.
That is kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
I should keep that on there. Let's do
Ooh, it's a little mood lighting. There it is.
Right?
Very spooky.
But yeah, it was expensive, so that was kind of hemming and hawing on that. And then my wife was like, you know what, you haven't made art, you're hemming and hawing about making art, you're like kind of bummed about making art, you can't do it. If this is going to get your art going, just go get it. So she's like, I buy enough clothes during the year, the least you can do is buy something to make art on. So I was like, okay, click. I think what was my screen time on it the other day? I think it was 18 hours was on Procreate. I think that's my story.
My question to you then is, do you think it's time well spent? How do you like it?
I love it.
Okay.
I hate when you're doing a drawing, sketching. Let's say I'm going to do a drawing in my sketchbook and you sketch it all out and you're like, oh, it looks great. Then you start rendering, and 3 hours into the rendering, you know what? I really wish this eye was bigger and over here. But I've rendered so much around that eye, I can't move it. So I'm just going to leave it. And then you're like, I don't like it. So with this, it's like, oh, that's off. Oh, select, move, rotate, boom, done, fix, you're out.
Absolutely. As soon as you get that iPad experience and you realize that you can 2-finger tap to undo, 3-finger tap to redo, and you can take completely resolved elements, resize them, move them around, and then feather them back into your drawing. I find myself now when I'm in my sketchbook wishing I had Command-Z as an option.
I was working on our drawing and painting exemplar, and I found myself, I went to do this to rotate it. So I giggled at myself. It is on the back of a cereal box, by the way.
During this quarantine, I started picking it back up, and it's really helped me get back into the swing of drawing. I can sit comfortably with my wife on the couch while we watch the news or watch a show, but I can be fully focused and enamored in the iPad and resolving a drawing and learning little things, and I feed off of that because sometimes watching TV, I just find it boring. But when it's on as background noise and you're hanging around the people you care about, it's a lot more enjoyable
And it's
too.
easier to sit on the couch and work on this. Like I sat with Carrie,
Absolutely.
she was playing Skyrim and I was sketching and stuff a little bit.
So, I can't just sit on the couch and have a number of different tools at my disposal. Like on my iPad, I use the charcoal brush, I use an airbrush, I use an HB pencil, I use some ink.
I can
I
just picture you sitting on your couch in the living room with an airbrush unit next to you, pumping
totally,
away, brrr,
the
spraying and stuff.
compressor would, yeah, the
Yeah,
compressor
getting
would really
charcoal
put a
dust and all the
damper.
cushions. Yeah.
And I like that you have access to tools and it emulates them in a pretty consistent way with
It's
how they
really
work in real
good.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not bad. Like when you use the watercolor, it's like that kind of looks like watercolor. Like it's not
Yep.
that far off.
You
Well, I
know?
love sharing is really easy. Like I did a drawing on my best friend Scott the other night and I just sent him a JPEG right from my iPad as I was making it.
Yeah.
It's like send. Like I don't have to get my camera out and wait for the sun and angle this and do this and I just whoop and I'm done. And you'll see the video stuff in a little bit too. The video sharing is just awesome. Like that's
Yeah,
just a
it's
cool
really
tool as
cool.
well. So yeah, I'm kind of hooked. I really, really, really like it. I'm kind of embarrassed that I made fun of you having one for a while.
And we're
Bron
going to look
Bron.
at LeBron James. All
Bron
right.
Bron.
So go ahead and start that video if you don't mind.
So I'll go ahead and start that.
Okay. Now, in the early stages of the video, you're going to see like I just start traditionally drawing the face and making a lot of marks. And I don't love every mark that I make. I eventually erase the whole drawing. And it's
Yeah,
something that you
there's
can
wait,
easily
right.
do.
So here's your sketch. And then you go ahead and totally erase it and start all over again.
And what was really cool about this drawing is where you
I,
get to the,
I'm gonna interrupt you right there. I like it right here. This is so not Dave Denner. I love it.
I got to see
Um,
where you're, yeah,
yeah, so this is the first time.
exactly.
This is the first time I'm seeing this. So I
Yeah.
love the scratchiness. That's so not you. That's pretty cool.
So if you go back a little bit in time on that video, just for the sake of argument, right to where, keep going a little bit, right there. Okay, right there, I'm resolving the shape of the head and I'm thinking to myself, why do I need to make all of these marks? Why do I have to make all of the lines? Basically, I'm creating the shape of what I want his head to be, or at least what I think I want his head to be. And in turn, what I start drawing is I start drawing lighting and I start drawing the forms and I start trying to make sense of where the highlights hit the eyes and where the shadows are and where the separation is. Start looking at color. You're going to see that I'm going to bring in some violet tones into the shadows because that's what I do in my traditional drawing. I'm going to emphasize orange tones on his face as well.
Oh,
So it
there's the
starts
violet
to,
in his neck. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, so it starts to become more rich in value and form. In the initial drawing and the initial sketch that I did as a block out, it's way too tall. And I realized that about halfway through that. I decided that I wanted to exaggerate the power in his look. He's got a really strong chin. And he
Yeah.
also has a thick neck because he's super muscular besides his athleticism. So not only is he an amazing athlete, but he's also a powerful athlete. What started as just a sketch that I was going to do is going to eventually turn into an illustration because I like it. So I'm going to add the body. I'm going to put a jersey in, calves only, and I'm going to add a background. I want to play with the
I
lighting of
thought
the
you said
background.
calves only. I'm like, what? What's wrong with his calves?
I've
I'm
been
like
dipping
a
a
toe in trying to make mine more graphic because I come from a graphic design background. It still feels computery to me. I had the idea of, so my tattoo artist, Tom Bullman, he did these drawings a while back of is it the Nike Air Mag from Back to the Future?
Yeah,
So
super cool.
his caricature stuff is just amazing. Like he's just crazy good at it. So he
Yeah.
was doing this thing called caricature kicks. So when I was trying to think of what am I going to do, I need to practice to kind of do some drawings of shoes, just because if I mess up a person's face, it doesn't look like the person anymore. If I
Right.
mess up a shoe, it's still a shoe.
I often tell my students when you're doing portraiture, if you're off millimeters, it's detectable. When
Yeah.
you're doing objects, you can get away with a lot. I really want to talk about your Air Force One illustration, which I think is,
Jordan
or I'm
1.
sorry, Air Force
My
One.
God.
How
So
did I do that?
with my shoes, I did a Chuck Taylor, and then I progressed to my Vans here, which was really kind of fun. And then you were talking about the Jordan ones. I was watching a
Yes.
documentary on Hulu about the Jordan ones and how they were like globally changing. I was like, oh my God, that's gonna be my next shoe I want to draw.
What I love about your illustration, and I'm just looking at the video and the illustration simultaneously, is while you draw it, your drawing style has a natural caricature vibe to it already. You have really interesting line quality when you work. There's a lot of movement, there's a lot of energy. You naturally shade as you draw, and then you manipulate and move around. What I think the iPad does for you that's great is the shove aspect of your work.
Oh
You can
yeah.
take something, you can draw it, you can copy paste and shove it around. You can refine and clean things up, and you have a natural ability to do that. And that's part of the selling points of your artwork. What really hooks me on your work is the line quality, is the choice between thick and thin, and even
Well,
the
that
textures you
yeah,
start to
that's
bring
like I
in.
think in like the 5 second mark into the video, I do a sketch and I hate it because it's just boring. It's at the 3 second mark, and then I erase it and then bend it. But the thick and thin is actually a brush set I got from an artist I learned on YouTube. His name called BJ Dell, I think is his name, and he has these really cool brushes. And I was like, you know what? I watched like 3 hours of your videos. The least I can do is send you $5 for some brushes. So that's where I got the brushes
Absolutely.
from. So the thick and thin is actually from him. Like I hate the middle part is really boring. I love the sketching part. I hate the middle part, but I love the ending, like the details, like putting in like the roughed up. So like the 2 minute mark of the video, I'm putting in like roughed up, like wore out, like leather,
Yeah.
drawing all like the little tiny thread and stuff is really
Yeah.
fun. So I love that kind of stuff.
I like that you mentioned the middle part being boring. When I think about the traditional work that we do and we have our students do, that boring phase tends to last a long time.
Yeah.
Where when we're working digitally, it's a much smaller format.
Yeah, when I'm out urban sketching, usually in the beginning, the middle part, where's the worst part, where you look like you have no idea what you're doing, is
Yep.
when people walk up and they're like, "Oh, you're painting. Oh,
Right.
that looks great," and they walk away. I'm like, "No, come back in an hour. Like, just this is the middle stage. What do you want me to do?"
What's cool about the iPad is in Procreate, it automatically records all of your marks. So you can
Yeah,
see that entire process, and then we can go back through and we can break it down like we're doing here.
and I think you told me too, and I always tell my students now is that you want to be able to see your artwork from across the room, have someone be engaged with it, say, "That's interesting. I want to see it." Walk up to the artwork and then give them a treat when they get there. That's where I like to get and like lost in all the stitching
Yep.
and some of the cool like little distressed leather spots, the holes, the dust, the dirt. So if you zoom in a little bit on Instagram, you'll be rewarded with that.
It's like a shout from a distance, and then it's a hook when we drag you in.
We've gone quite lengthy, but I want to touch on one thing before we go to
Yeah,
which do you see drawing with an iPad as cheating?
absolutely not. In no way, shape, or form do I see it as cheating. And my philosophy on drawing, as it is in making art, is there's no such thing in cheating in it. The people who will argue that it's cheating, yeah, if you trace it and you take somebody's artwork and you try to pass it off as your own, that's absolutely plagiarism.
Yeah, so that's the part that I'm like, so this is how I usually work. So I have my image here and then I have my illustration over here. So I
Yep.
can look at my reference, I can zoom in and stuff on my shoe, and I can zoom in on this, whatever. I did trace the logo-ish. I mean, I still kind of, but it was just really hard to draw. Same with up here. But that was the only two things that I traced in the whole thing. My buddy of my drawing of my buddy Scott.
Yep.
So I don't know what happened, but I actually started tracing when I first started drawing this, just tracing it line for line. I was like, what the heck are you doing? But then I realized, wait a minute, I took the photo in 1994, so I guess I can trace it, right?
Yeah. Well, I
Maybe?
think we have a loaded episode ahead of us if we want to talk about artists and the artist touch on a work of art. For anybody who wants to dig into that and do a little investigation, just look up Jeff Koons
Oh yeah.
and
You'll
and
get
Andy
angry.
Warhol.
You'll get angry at Jeff Koons. He has a workshop of grad students working for free making his paintings for him. Give me your outro,
You want my outro?
your normal outro.
I've gotten a lot of comments from my adult friends who really enjoy the videos, and they say that they just like hearing us talk about art and that we're not hoity-toity about it. We're not being overly judgmental. We're just kind of sharing our opinions. And I think people are afraid to approach art because there's an intimidation factor that I have to have this certain level of knowledge to be able to talk about it. But my take is, and our take is, that it should be fun, it should be approachable, and we're just celebrating it because we love it, because it's fun.
Yeah,
So don't ever feel guilty for having fun.
that happens to be our career choice too, which might have something to do with it, but
Yeah. So I just wanted to close with advice for making art during this quarantine, because I think this is where a lot of people are struggling. Don't put the pressure on yourself to start on a blank canvas or get out a sheet of paper and get out all of your materials. Give yourself the freedom to experiment, to try something new, to do smaller works, to doodle, and then to see the good in it. Make sure that you avoid the big projects if you find that you're stuck a lot, because it's a big time investment and you have to be prepared and you have to have that in you mentally. Also, you got to be open to making mistakes on
Well,
that.
I like that, because right now there's no one around.
Yeah,
If you don't share it on the social network of craziness, then you're fine. But if you do a bad drawing, now's a perfect time to do a bad drawing, because no one can see it. Turn the
exactly.
page. Turn the page. Go to page 2.
Everybody love everybody. And thanks so much for viewing. We'll see you next time.
Peace.